Well, now that we don't have a home, we really need the traps to protect ourselves. It.
I will shoot Raazu a dirty look, take a long stick, spike a piece of bacon through it, and hold it up to the fire.
So, Raazu, you've allowed your house to burn down. What's next?
Do we have any marshmallows?
Were there any marshmallows in there?
There are no marshmallows.
Yes.
Okay.
There are bags of grain sugar.
There's some marshmallow plant.
Wendy, why didn't you just fly?
That's what I'm wondering.
Please don't say that.
Why
You're
didn't
just
you just
very
fly?
sensitive about that.
I don't have wings.
Birdie, coming around when they're having this argument about flying, you hear and feel beneath your feet, especially, something very loud and like a shockwave in the ground. And then you hear the sound of running water as they're arguing about whether or not Wendy can fly.
What direction is the running water sound coming from?
Underneath you, down
Underneath.
in the earth.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I'll start digging another pit.
You start
Seems
digging
to
a hole
have
there.
worked Seems to have worked so far.
This time just in front of the smoldering wreckage of your house. I mean, this time the thatch is caved in. The stone walls are still standing, but, the rest of it's just totally alight.
Pa, what happened?
I hear something.
Your mother decided that the house should burn down. I guess.
Raazu goes over to the well.
I think
Looking
we
in
might
the
be
well.
really bad at being a family, you guys.
You see the water level rapidly dropping and draining away.
Is there anything in the well?
It's dark down there. Oh, you got dark vision, though. I mean, you look down, that's how you can see the water level dropping. But, I mean, you can't see through the water to the bottom of the well, though.
Raazu starts watching the water level drop.
What is Birdie doing?
Birdie's gonna climb up on here, grab a hold of the well, the bucket. Is it a bucket on a rope?
Well,
With
Do you
first
want
of
me to
all,
lower you down into this well,
when
Birdie?
you
Is that
jump
what
on the
you're trying to
well,
accomplish here?
Birdie, when you look down, you can't see anything. It's way too dark.
I have dark vision as well.
You can't see anything. It's way too dark.
Ah.
I'll lower you into the well.
Birdie
I'll throw a couple
hops down, and then he runs over, and can he get some... So, can he light, does anybody have any torches or anything?
Birdie, this is a strange sensation because you know what you need to do is light a torch for your descent into the well, but you can't ever remember needing to do that before.
Well, we've got a lot of torches, if you consider the entire house.
Raazu.
So I'm gonna set out some plates and start, putting food out on them, cooked from the fire of the house. My family is crazy.
Raazu takes wraps the rope around her arm and starts lowering herself down into the well.
You start climbing down?
Yes.
I mean, there's not a lot of light to see by. Even with your dark vision, it's difficult to see. But you lower yourself down, and eventually you reach the surface of the water. What do you do at that point?
How far down am I?
Maybe 20, 30 feet. I mean, you have to lower a bucket down to drag water up. It's not like you just go in with a ladle. But you can feel from here, if you just use your toes and poke downward, you can feel the water level lowering pretty rapidly.
Keep going, following the level of the water.
And after about 15 or 20 minutes or so of following the water level down, you reach the stone bottom of the well, which means at this point there's less water than your height. And then feeling around, you notice a significant amount of damage has happened on the inside of the bottom of the well, where many of the stones have collapsed away and the water is rapidly draining out.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great view from here. When you look up, you've got this great ringed view of just the tower of smoke coming up from the inferno of your cottage.
Well,
Raazu,
now we don't have a house, and none of us are going to be able to build one. We don't have a well. None of us can fix that.
Raazu climbs back up out of the well.
And Birdie, you watch, and you can't see Raazu climbing out until she's within 10 or 15 feet of you or so. And what's next?
Was that
Dinner's
Birdie?
on.
Birdie looks at Red and says, I appreciate your
Willingness to go into this well?
No, I was going to say I appreciate his commitment to dinner.
Red, you are sufficiently appreciated.
My entire family has gone crazy. That's all Red's thinking to himself.
He says as he eats his dinner in the little butchery room,
Yep.
slaughterhouse.
I've got plates set out for all of them. I've got charred meats and whatnot from the fire of that goddamn house we live in.
And
Why
by
don't I have
morning,
wings.
there's nothing left of the house except just the stone shell, just the outer structure that's badly scorched and singed, but the floorboards have been burned away. All of the linens and straw mattresses and things have gone up. Most of the metal that was inside the house is warped. Most of Pop-Pop's tools are broken and useless. And just
My
surveying
hammer.
the wreckage. The fire never actually spread into this room, though, because there's a stone wall all the way around it. But everything that was in this room is now laying on the ground outside of this room.
It's also now extremely wet from day.
Raazu takes a look at the.
It's also extremely wet from the rain that's now falling, that's putting out the last of the embers.
Yeah.
I'm cold.
Okay, so I guess we're
Ron-
going to need to start with, furniture, beds.
We're leaving.
Wait, are you sure?
Where?
Furniture?
We're leaving.
Where?
I mean, we should probably start with, cookware, but I think I've saved enough of that.
We are leaving.
But
Walks
where are we going?
Grabs Birdie by the arm. We are leaving. That is the answer that she gives you. Sorry.
Help! I'm being kidnapped.
Pop-Pop's hollering about being kidnapped as Raazu drags him off into the woods.
Adrex, go stop your mother from throwing her dad down a hole or something.
Birdie, do you help her avoid the pit as you walk by?
No.
Raazu, let's get a dexterity saving throw.
My only solace is that you're falling in with me. That's a 15.
It's a 5-foot pit. You don't take any damage. You just are both knocked prone in the bottom of this pit.
Watch out for the... Yeah.
Now that they've fallen in the pit, there's no way for them to get out. Such is the danger of the pit.
Raazu hoists herself out of the pit. Out of the
How are you two related?
I don't know where Raazu's planning on going. None of us have ever traveled further than 2 miles in any direction.
Raazu just
Raazu
walks
starts-
off into the woods.
Yes.
And she vanishes in between the darkness and the trees. Because now it's the dead of night. Now the sun has come down. The rains have started to sweep in.
But he's like jumping. He can't get out of the pit because he's only 2.5 feet tall.
You can climb out, my goodness. I mean, you're old and frail, but
I will do what I
Pretty good for your
can
age.
to put together some sort of makeshift bedding and try and sleep in here. The one part. Well, actually, I guess the storeroom is okay. That's probably gonna be the better place to sleep.
lay down some straw on the ground and take one of the spare linens and throw it over it. And it's not as nice as your bed was, but your bed's burned now.
Is this stairs or is that going up or down?
There probably were stairs there on this original map, but there's not in your house.
Okay.
Everyone who's burned the house down raised their hand. Oh,
She
no
left.
hands?
Everything is weird and I don't like anything. This sucks. I want a house.
Raazu,
Hmm.
as you're walking through the woods, what are you carrying on you? Like, what did you take with you?
Absolutely nothing.
Like, just the clothes on your back?
Yep.
The first thing that strikes you is you seem to recall last time you were hiking through the woods like this, you were fairly well encumbered. You were carrying a large pack on your back. You were wearing much heavier clothes. No, they weren't clothes. They were like, it was like armor of some kind. Thinking about it, and you're pretty sure you were carrying using a stick to walk with, but it wasn't a stick. It had a long blade on the end of it, and it takes you a few minutes trying to think of what would you even call that blade. Then you remember you were walking with a halberd.
Yep.
The next thing that strikes you as strange is talking to Red all day. For some reason, you seem to remember Red having like a weird tattoo or mark on his face that go across his lips, and you're not sure what happened to it, but it wasn't there the past few days.
Raazu looks down at her hand.
And you see the marking, and for a minute it's very strange, because you don't remember having a marking there, but at the same time you do remember it being there, and then you come to remember how you got it, and why, and what you're able to do with it. And that's when it really strikes you that you're walking through the dark woods alone at night with no weapons, no armor, and none of your companions.
Yep. This is a bad decision.
Meanwhile, the rest of you just get your bedding together.
Yeah, I'm getting my bedding together. I don't like sleeping outdoors.
Okay.
Once that clicks, Raazu will start running full tilt back toward the house.
And as you guys are laying down bedding in the storeroom, Raazu, make another dexterity saving throw. Let's see if you fall back in the pit.
It's raining, you said?
Yes, it's raining.
I'll go ahead and drape some linens over the large pile of supplies. In the morning, we'll have to move those into what's left of the house.
That's an 11.
You hear another loud crashing sound as Raazu falls back in the pit, coming back in the yard.
Raazu starts swearing in Hobgoblin.
Digging
And you can hear the you can sometimes catch up the actual word birdie in common, but it's all Hobgoblin swear words from there.
So it's all Hobgoblin.
Adrex, you come out, and you don't see anything. You don't have dark vision. It's dark out here.
Yeah.
You hear something coming from about 1 foot above the ground.
Well, Adrex recognizes it, so he's like, "Mom's back."
Did she fall in the pit?
Yes.
Raazu clambers back out of the pit. Adrex, roll initiative.
All right.
I'm on a 1.
Adrex is ready to beat his mom down any day of the week.
Without getting out of bed, Red will yell out, "You know what? I'm so mad at her. She can sleep in the tanning room tonight, and we'll deal with it in the morning."
I got a 4.
Okay, so you attack first, but Raazu looks like she's coming at you. Looked like she's ready to swing.
I don't have dark vision, so.
Oh, well then.
Would you
okay,
beat someone down who can't even see you?
Until the moment when you get like 10, what is it, 15 feet? I think
No,
it's even less than that.
it's not. It's darkness. You're blind. You can't see anything.
So, yeah.
You've got no vision at all.
Yeah, no, you've got the jump on Adrex, man.
Cast True Strike on Adrex, close, and punch the crap out of him.
And you all hear the sounds of fighting as you hear the sound of your mother pummeling Big Brother Adrex out in the yard.
Let's see,
Should I roll initiative?
that is actually a wee. There it goes.
Don't worry about rolling. Let's just see where this goes.
Okay.
See, Adrex, your mother knocks you to the ground and just starts beating on you. Just starts pummeling you with her fists.
Ah! Mom, what did I do? I let the house burn down like you said.
Raazu,
It's not my fault.
I'll grab a sheet and I'll run over and I'll try and tackle her and like restrain her with it, like use it to tie her arms behind her back.
Birdie runs over and jumps on her back too.
And the combined efforts of the rest of your family, they're able to wrestle you off of Adrex.
Adrex, get me
Quick,
some
grab a
rope.
birdie, dig a pit under her.
Raazu shouts.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
Look at Red's lips. Look at them now.
And we'll tie her up. We'll leave her in the storeroom overnight. She's gone crazy. Like there's no other explanation. She's actually lost her mind. She let the house burn down, and now she's attacking her own son.
We're a really bad family.
Adrex, gag her.
Birdie goes over to
wanna.
Wendy, pats her on the back, says, "Sometimes it's just the parents. It's not the kid's fault."
So, what is done to restrain Raazu? Like, you're gagging her, you're tying her up, you're dragging her into
I'm
the...
wrapping her in a sheet. I'm tying her hands behind her back, and then I am dragging her into the tanning room and tying the hands behind her back to one of the tables.
Okay.
And doing it is, to not like hopefully so she can still lay down and sleep, but hopefully whatever's come over her will get better on its. I'm not prepared for this emotionally.
Bizarrely enough, Raazu, having grown up in a goblinoid war camp and not in a cozy cottage in the forest, this is not the least comfortable you've ever been.
She'll probably be better on a long rest.
Make a strength check at disadvantage if you want to try to break free. 'Cause, I mean, you're just tied up with ropes and linens and things.
That's a 21.
21. So, Red, you and the kids retreat back to the storeroom to try to sleep the rest of the night away. Raazu, working through the night, you do manage to loosen your bonds slightly. And then you hear something. A small voice above you that speaks. It says, "It has loosened its bonds. Do you think it will kill the rest of its family?" Then you hear a second voice, this one higher pitched and more feminine. It says, "I'll lay 2.5 years that it doesn't."
Adrex is inconsolable, by the way.
Yeah.
He is sobbing and keeping everyone awake with his loud dragon.
Birdie's
He's
just
such a
like
crybaby.
rubbing his back, like you comfort a child, like a small child, by rubbing their back. Birdie's doing that to Adrex.
Have you
Raazu.
burped him yet?
What is your reaction to these voices?
Who the hell are you?
Then you hear the voices. You think you can hear them snickering for a few moments, and then they speak, but in more hushed tones. One of them says, "Shh, shh, I think it can hear us." And
Yes,
then
I can.
Then you hear silence for a moment, and then it sounds like two small children trying to stay silent because they know they're supposed to be quiet, but they've been caught. So you kind of hear the light snickering coming from somewhere above you.
Raazu stands up, reaches, and starts grasping at air.
When you reach up, you see two little creatures. There's a high window in this room where they were perched. Tiny, tiny creatures. A couple inches high, if that. And as you reach up to grasp them, they both leap backwards, where they're hovering beyond the window, as though on insect wings. And looking at them, they look like sylvan creatures. They have elven characteristics, but they're tiny. And their clothes are woven together out of leaves and bark and other such things. And they think this whole spectacle that they're watching is hysterical. And then one says to the other, "I'll lay 3 years that she catches and eats you." So they're flitting about just outside the window, but they haven't left yet.
Raazu dashes outside,
Okay.
comes back around.
Did everybody
Makes
in
a
the
leaping-
room go to sleep?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay.
Red managed somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a leaping jump to try and grab one of them.
And they dart just outside of the range of your grasp. Snickering the whole time. And then the feminine one with the high-pitched voice says to the other one, "Can we go double or nothing on the second to wake up?" What do you do next?
Raazu looks back down at her hand, makes sure she still has the mark on her.
You do. Still there.
Raazu goes back in here, reaches down, grabs Red.
You're
Red.
asleep.
You're woken as Raazu shakes you awake in the middle of the night. This peal of thunder outside. It's still raining, downpour. She looks angry, upset, confused, and no longer tied up in the tannery.
Raazu shouts to the other three, "Look at his lips." "Look at my hand." She holds out her hand to display the marking.
There's no light. There's no light source
We've
there.
been over this before. I can't see in the dark.
I'll grab her arm and try and like twist it behind her to try and like suppress her. She's way stronger than me though, so this isn't actually like. I
Adrex
probably
starts
literally
running
can't
in the
overpower you if it comes down to that.
Adrex is running where?
He's just running away.
Yeah, you're gonna trigger this.
Oh, he's gonna run into a pit.
Oh God! And I'll let go of her.
He'll never be able to get
running
out.
after Adrex.
Now,
Raazu's not letting you leave.
Your son is running away into the darkness in the middle of the night. What the hell is wrong with you?
Red
Birdie will run after.
and
He's not my son.
Red and Windy and Birdie. But before you get a chance to run out, Raazu's yelling something about Red's lips, and your first instinct is, well, of course, he's got the mark on his lips, the same mark that we all have. But then it immediately becomes apparent that no, he's never had a mark on his lips. And when you look over at him, he surely doesn't have one there. So you have these weird conflicting memories in your head. And then you
Must have been a
hear
dream.
a very, very loud clatter momentarily coming from the direction of the tannery.
For a second, I thought he said Adrex was going to fall into the pit.
Raazu lets go of Red and goes back over here.
And there's debris and broken tools. Broken butchery tools and meat hooks and things laying all over the floors the tannery is. Everything in here has just suddenly come apart and fallen to the ground.
Do you see that? Do you see what has happened here? This isn't real.
No,
This isn't
I
correct.
can't see in the dark.
This isn't correct.
Adrex, what are you
Apparently.
doing over here by the torsion trap?
He's running. He's sprinting.
Out into the woods?
He's out into the woods. Yes, he's terrified. He's scared. This is all really confusing
And
and it's really upsetting.
Difficult. You're tripping over your feet, your low-hanging branches are swiping at your face, and you run for a little while, and you start to get winded before you can't remember the last time you've run like this. And then you're thinking, you can, but usually you're running towards danger. Usually you're running, for some reason, it feels like you're running towards something more deadly than what you're running away from. And instead of feeling scared by that fact, you feel invigorated by it.
So I'm going to get flint and steel from the pile of stuff from the storeroom, get a makeshift torch together, and run after Adrex. Not in the dark, but
Wait, can you use that torch to make me a torch first?
there's flint and
torch
steel
out.
in the pile.
I
There's
can't
plenty
see
of wood in
it.
the house.
And Red disappears out into the woods. Adrex, what do you do with that realization?
Yeah, once Adrex realizes, actually, I should be running towards danger, and that makes way more sense in his head. He sort of skids in place, turns around, and runs right back.
And as you do, you instinctively reach down to where your sword is, and you realize it's not there. Neither of them are. And then, very suddenly,
That's weird.
you remember the markings on your hand, and you look down and you feel where the scales are warped, and you can feel there the marking is intact. And as you're running back towards the house, you do hear sound coming towards you very quickly.
He's got a torch too, right?
He does have a torch, so yeah, you can see who it is as he's coming. Yeah, Red's coming out looking for you. Red, you find Adrex very quickly after leaving.
I'm glad you came back. I don't know what's wrong with your mother. I have no idea. This has been the most insane day of my life.
You should keep running. Keep going that way. Trust me.
I
It'll
have
make
to make
sense.
sure you're all right.
You're
a kid. I mean, I know you've killed a deer, but this is a dangerous place. We have to get you back to. I mean, there's no
Follow
cabin
me.
anymore.
Follow me. And Adrex grabs Red's hand and guides him farther away from the village.
And he drags you out into the darkness. And it suddenly strikes you as very silly saying that Adrex, he's killed a deer, but now, because you remember watching Adrex kill many things, dangerous, intelligent things with large weapons. And then you remember a large weapon that you brought back, this large greatsword used by a yak man, and you handed it over to someone, and you rack your brain, and you can remember speaking to this Moakton leather worker, and he made you a fine suit of armor with the metal from that sword, and you can't recall the last time you've seen that armor. Adrex, you can see Red struggling with this memory. You guys back at the ranch, as you're trying to argue with your mother, more and more things start falling apart. Stones coming out of walls. The structure of the well collapses down into the emptiness. One of the walls of the stable comes down. The privy begins to overflow. Parts of the outer wall, I mean, it's all crumbling down around you now. The pits are still okay.
Birdie grabs Wendy by the hand and leads her.
Can somebody just make me a torch? It's so dark.
We're gonna go hide in the pit.
Ah!
You take her into the pit. All right, Wendy, Pop brings you down to the pit. Rossi, what are you doing? Is Rossi also hiding in the pit? Is McDohl on mute?
I am on mute. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Raazu grabs Birdie by the shoulder before he and Wendy can get into the pit, and he says, "Birdie, come with me."
She's grabbing.
Don't leave me in the pit! Somebody bring me a torch!
Then come with me. Hold my arm, and nothing bad is going to happen.
Last time I let someone hold my arm, I went in and ended up in a pit!
Two of you drag the hysterical Wendy to her feet and begin leading her away from the family cottage where she's grown up her whole life.
Yep.
Adrex and Red, standing far out in the woods. I mean, Red, after a few moments of standing here with Adrex, all of the memories come flushing back towards you. But perplexingly, your mark does not reappear. You know where it should be, and you know what it's for and what it allows you to do, but for some reason it's no longer on your face.
But all my memories are back.
Yes. You suddenly realize that you're standing in the middle of a dark forest without your bow, without any of your poisons, with none of your backup, with just Adrex here.
Who is also weaponless.
Right.
I was mad at Raazu? How does that even happen? That's weird.
I called her mom. I don't know. We should get the others.
Is that what anger feels like?
Ah, that was a stick!
Adrex, how do you even deal with that sort of thing?
Punching things mostly.
That's so bizarre.
Stabbing.
No,
kicking,
yeah, stabbing
kicking,
feels. I bet
charging.
stabbing must feel really good when you're angry.
You should try it if you haven't.
I mean, I don't get angry.
You channel it into energy, and Adrex realizes like now is probably not the best time to have this conversation.
And about this time, the other three of you, having left the pit a few moments ago, you see the light of Red's torch up in front of you. You see Red and Adrex standing there having what looks to be a relatively rational conversation.
Raazu shouts to Adrex. Adrex, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you sane? Are you not?
Yeah, I'm sane.
That makes one of you!
All right.
So it's distance from the house.
I think so. Yeah.
Birdie,
No,
come here.
Help me with these two.
Don't.
Yep.
Don't.
I can walk! I can see now!
Birdie and Wendy, we're going to have to leave the homestead. We're just going to start marching in this direction. Just follow your mother and daughter.
I'm not following anyone until someone gives me that torch.
And Wendy, at this point, the idea, I mean, on one hand, the idea of walking with them through the woods, holding a torch, that sounds the most bizarre thing you can think of, because you have very vivid memories of watching your comrades march 60 feet below you as you swoop circles around scouting for them.
Wait. No, we need to go back to the house.
Why?
'Cause I'm gonna burn that place down even further.
No. Well, let's get Birdie. Let's get Birdie back into his right senses, and then we can go do that.
Birdie tries to run away from Raazu.
Nope, not letting you.
Just
grabs Birdie by the
Take the torch.
Just
I'm
be
taking the
behind
torch.
him
Birdie,
so he runs away from the house.
Birdie has no difficulty ducking under Rasu's grasp and darting away. And this is something you recall doing hundreds of times in your short, cowardly life, fleeing from a large opponent. And no sooner do you get free from her grasp that you realize that that's your second nature. This is something you've done hundreds of times. In fact, it's something you've done in assistance to Raazu, who you recall standing in your defense in combat.
Oh.
Yeah,
Birdie-
it makes sense, right?
Birdie
And-
grasps his chest.
And you feel where the mark is. And both of you feel very, very naked without a bow.
Raazu steps around behind Wendy and pushes some of her feathers aside to see if she's got her mark back.
She does. You see it back there.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
I don't.
Raazu, you're
I don't-
being too much like yourself.
This is strange for me to say, Raazu, but I feel like I should apologize for being angry at you. Is that what you do when you're angry at someone?
You're asking the Paladin of Conquest?
you just be thankful when I punched Adrex, I didn't take his head completely off.
There's that.
Birdie,
Yes.
what's extremely strange to you now is that you can't see except by the light of Red's torch. This is a situation you've never found yourself in.
Birdie.
Raazu can see normally.
Birdie.
I can't see. I can't see in the dark anymore.
All right,
This is
then.
very distressing.
I think Wendy had the right of it and burn the rest of this place down.
No, wait, listen. Raazu, you can't burn it down, and neither can you, Birdie. That would be too much like something you would do.
What?
What?
When we were back there, every time it cracked was when one of us said something or did something that was unlike ourselves. So, Birdie, here, I'm gonna give you the torch.
At this
Where's
point,
the torch?
the rain has begun to subside.
Now, what would be the least Birdie-like thing to do with that torch?
Douse it?
Birdie like swings it around and like tries to set some leaves on fire.
No, that's extremely Birdie-like. No, wait.
Do you want Birdie to eat the torch?
That would be a very Adrex thing to do. Here, he hands it to Adrex, says, "Hug this."
I don't want to hug the torch.
I'm getting a headache.
But I can see now, and this is very helpful.
So now Adrex is holding the torch.
I guess we should probably. Oh, we don't have the little chits.
Hey, Adrex, don't take that torch from Birdie. He needs it to see.
That doesn't sound right to you, Adrex. You've never known Birdie to ever need a torch to see in the dark.
Yuan-ti looks around.
It
See,
looks
we're
just
too
as
far away
dark as
now.
ever. So what's next? You're not setting any leaves on the ground on fire. It's all sodden earth and everything right here. Nothing will burn.
Let's head back and investigate that homestead.
Yeah.
See if there are any clues there.
And it takes you a few minutes to walk back. And you find the ruined outer wall and ruined stones where the structure of the house would be, but nothing else. It looks like the ruins has been sitting here for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's no wooden structure. There's no provisions pulled out of the storeroom.
Is there still a well?
There's a hole where a well might have once stood. A partially collapsed area of soil and earth. And then in that general area, you find some broken stone in a ring.
All right. Well, crap. I think we already broke this.
But you do see
Right
2
now-
points of light somewhere over inside the stone structure.
Does Adrex see
Raazu steps over here.
Red's markings, or is his markings still?
Nobody sees Red's markings. Everybody else has confirmed their own mark is there, but not Red's.
Birdie picks up some rocks,
All right,
like
so
one for each hand.
Okay?
Adrex brings that up. Adrex says, "Look, I can see my markings that were on my hand, but I can't see any of yours."
And to confirm, Raazu, earlier when you cast True Strike, the spell did function. So yeah, that's your one use of True Strike until you rest.
Yep.
But my markings aren't back, right?
No, they're not.
So if I try and cast message at
You-
Adrex,
You point at Adrex and try to send him a message, and Adrex does not receive it. The spell does not function.
and do I see everyone else's markings?
You can.
It seems to just be something with me. It's odd.
Hmm.
Pretty walks inside the.
Yeah,
Husk.
Raazu is interested in those points of light.
And the points of light are 2 just tiny little blue sparkles, kind of being held on the end of light sticks by the 2 small winged creatures.
Hello again.
And you can see now that one is a male and one's a female wearing a little bark and leaf dress. And she seems to be pouting. And he looks up and says, she's upset because she lost 20 years to me. She says the bird would be the first to waken. And she stamps the floor a little bit, pouting, and says, "It's because of the wings. Why would anybody forget they could fly?" He looks very pleased, however, having just won 20 years.
20 years of what?
He looks at
Adrex
you,
says,
then
like,
looks. He looks at you, then looks back at the girl, and you see this smile beaming on his face. And he says, "For 20 more years, I'll tell you where we've hidden your equipment." And he grins brightly at the lot of you. He says, 20 from one, 4 from each. I'm not picky.
Birdie looks at
What do you
Wendy.
mean by years? Like, I'm not agreeing to anything.
He says, a year, 4 seasons, 300 some odd turds of the sun.
Years of what?
Of our lives?
He says an enterprising young man like him could do a lot with 20 more years.
Whenever we burned down a building, it just took us 2 days.
And he snickers in response. He says, yeah, sure you did. Very good job.
When he puffs her chest out.
Listen, I don't know what kind of prank this was. It's really kind of cool, but I don't want to give up any part of my years.
I don't got a lot to work with.
Agreed.
He shrugs. He waves his little sparkle stick around. He says, all right, suit yourself. And he starts,
Birdie throws a rock at him.
roll the hit. Let's see if you get him.
So that would be 7. Is that? Do I add my dex to it?
It's a ranged weapon attack. Yeah, you add your dex, but not your proficiency bonus because it's an improvised weapon.
So it would be 11.
An 11?
Yeah.
And the rock sings over him as he hunkers down to dodge it. He gets angry, turns around, and starts waving his fist at you, talking about, what's the big idea? Well, the female, she begins snickering to herself, watching the spectacle, but also backing away from you guys slowly, because she thinks a rock's coming her way as well.
20 years will tell him to stop.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, little boy.
And at this, he picks up the pace and flies out further. I'll give you one more hit if you want to try to knock him out of the air before he gets too far away for you to see him.
Nah, I got another 11.
Okay? And, I mean, it's only a couple of feet before the little blue of his sparkle disappears in the darkness, and you could no longer see him. But the female is still standing there, snickering at the spectacle.
Sadly, I'm out of rocks.
He took 20 years from you. I'm assuming that's like a lifespan.
She says that you big folk assume a lot of strange things. Then she turns her attention to Windy. And Windy, she's upset with you. And she starts railing against you in common at first, but then she slips into Sylvan about how big of an idiot you have to be to not remember you can fly.
I think I was working at it.
Do you understand, Sylvan?
What did we decide?
Oh,
I
yeah,
wanted
that's
some
right.
cool Fey language.
Last week. Well, I mean, she's some type of sprite or fairy.
Oh man, that sounds pretty fun.
So if you, yeah, she's swearing
I'm
at
definitely
you.
gonna pick Sprite because I specifically said I wanted something because I had gotten into like fairy trickster shit.
This is definitely some fairy trickster shit. So yeah, she starts.
I'm gonna yell back at her in Sprite
Okay.
about my
She-
lemon limes.
She stops, and she begins. She looks shocked that you speak the language, first of all. And then she touches down on the ground, drops to her knees, and throws her hands out on the, well, now it's just packed earth. There's no more floorboards here. As she beseeches you in Sprite not to squish her.
And I'm gonna respond, sure, if you tell us where he hid our equipment. It would really burn him, I bet, if you gave it back to us. He seemed very smug that he had it.
How much coin were you guys carrying? Like in gold and silver? I don't have access to your loot sheet here. I guess I should bookmark that eventually.
Heck off, I know.
Raazu had 3 gold, 9 silver.
Oh, I don't carry anything on me, so it was just what Adrex had, which is...
Yeah, I don't actually think I have any money on me either.
We had a total of 120 gold.
120?
120.71 gold. Various things. 37 gold, 689 silver, 1481 copper.
When you tell her it would really burn him if she told you where the equipment was, she looks up at you and she sees she's terrified now. Absolutely terrified by you. And she says, please don't be angry, but he's given the silver away.
Silver away?
Who did he give the silver to?
And she shakes her head and says she dare not say.
All right, but what about the rest of the gear? That's a little bit more pressing.
She says she can lead you to it, but only if you close your eyes.
All right. No tricks now. Or we may have to reconsider the squishing you thing.
She asks Adrex to douse the torch so that the group gives off no light.
I don't like this. All right.
Do you like the prospect of not carrying any weapons better?
No.
Okay then.
And you extinguish the torch, and now only Raazu can see. Wendy.
Yeah.
The little sprite lands on your head, and you can feel that she takes up two of your, I don't know what head wings are called. They have a special name for wings, like head, whatever, in her hands, as though she's holding on. She tells you need to close your eyes and then follow her directions on where to walk.
Yeah, this is some fairy shit. So, I'll play along.
Okay. She instructs the rest of you to join hands so you don't lose each other.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
Does anybody not close their eyes?
Raazu does close her eyes.
Yeah, Birdie will close his eyes.
Does anybody not? Okay. And you spend the next 2 or 3 hours, it feels like,
Yeah.
marching through this woods. She tells you 10 paces forward, turn left, 10 more paces forward, step over this log. And then eventually you feel the feathers on your head go slack and you no longer hear the sound of her voice.
All right, I'll open my eyes.
And you're standing in the middle of the forest somewhere in the darkness.
Yep.
Raazu opens her eyes, looks around.
And standing in the middle of the forest somewhere a few hours before morning.
Is there gear anywhere about?
There are some large trees around. Wet mud and sand, or wet mud and grass on the ground. Nice coverage of brown leaves.
That little bitch.
You pretty much just have to work your way through these things with fairies.
But you don't.
Raazu's on the edge right now. She is shaking.
Patience is generally the best way to go about it, and having a sense of humor, I've been told.
Well,
It's apparently funny if you do something that's harmful to yourself. Or
we all respect your sense of humor.
Wendy begins whistling.
Well,
So do you think
saw
we just
that
wait?
coming.
Raazu, make me a perception check, since you're the only one that can see. I love saying that. I love having taken that away from Birdie.
Perception sucks.
I think I'm gonna blip.
Okay?
Yeah. That's great use of blip right there.
What's that
That is-
5 turn into?
That turns into a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
And you're just so infuriated. You're just fuming mad. Who are you mad at? Are you mad at the little sprite, or are you mad at Wendy for trusting this little sprite?
Okay, let's not say things that aren't true.
I think the answer to this question is yes.
What's Wendy's reaction to apparently having been abandoned by this sprite?
That, assuming that we're the most entertaining things around in this forest, something will probably be coming around anytime now.
From the back of your mind, the whispers of a previous campaign, this sprite was just in its perfect state of being.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys have a few hours before the sun starts to come up. What are you spending that time doing?
Red's gonna get a dry bed of leaves together against one of these, sort of sit down and do the best he can to get some sleep.
Yeah, that would be a miracle to get a bed of any kind of dried anything at this state.
I'm sleeping in this tree.
Birdie's
The
gonna
rest of you should
gather
learn how to sleep in trees.
a couple of armful of rocks, I guess.
Wendy begins climbing up the nearby tree.
Adrex plops down on his ass, arms crossed.
Okay. Wendy, make
Raazu's
me
sitting right
a
next to
perception check at disadvantage.
Alright. That is a 15.
A 15. You turn to climb the tree next to you. And as soon as you reach up to grab the first branch, it slips and your hand falls into like a knothole in the tree.
Yeah,
And you fish around for a second, you realize it's hollow.
yeah. Alright, guys. Let's crack open these trees.
I'll knock on the tree I'm leaning against.
You knock on
My
the
ear
tree.
to it.
Are you
Yeah.
leaning against the same tree or a different tree?
Different tree.
Different tree. You knock and put your ear to it, and it just sounds like tree.
Mine
He
just
will
seems to be
announce to the air monotonely, "Man, was I fooled."
And nothing happens.
And I'm gonna keep just kind of investigating how to get into the center of this tree.
And you follow this indentation down to an open part in the bottom where you realize part of the earth has given way, exposing part of the root structure of a tree. This would be the perfect spot to hide as much gear as you were carrying.
Yeah, I'll get in there.
Wendy begins digging at the earth here, and after a few moments, she starts pulling some of your gear. Everything, over the course of the next hour or so, you pull out everything intact except for the silver you were carrying.
Righto.
Copper and gold are still there, but not silver.
What about the silver knives?
They're gone.
Yeah.
My silver arrow is gone too.
Yep.
Man, that was a lot of silver.
Be thankful you're still alive.
Everything else is there. Weapons, armor, your packs, bedrolls, your magic items, the potions and scrolls, whatever you were carrying. It's all there.
Birdie hugs his bow.
Don't worry, Raazu, I accept your apology.
Stone faced.
And then you
Birdie
realize
pipes up.
it's taken you the better part of an hour or so to dig all of this out of these tree roots. And really, the sun should have been up by now. But it's not. It's still dark out. Is everybody confused as to what to try next?
No, I think if we go try to find a clearing, I can try to get a look of what's going on.
Is that the plan?
Now that we have torches.
Yeah, you did
Sure.
dig all your
Your
torches out
I have a
of here.
lantern.
And
Yeah.
your bullseye lantern.
Yeah.
I say we light some torches and start moving, looking for a clearing. Then, since this seems to be Wendy's show.
Oh, don't say that, because then we're gonna turn around and I'm just gonna be gone.
So what do you do, Wendy? This is your show.
All right, yeah, let's find a clearing and see what's up.
How do you find
We're
a
gonna
clearing?
just travel through the forest for a bit,
Okay.
and then if we can find a clearing, I'm gonna try flying up and seeing what I can see.
And you beat your wings against the air, and you do not leave the ground, no matter how furiously you try.
Maybe that's why you couldn't remember that you could fly. It's because it didn't feel right.
On the contrary, it feels very wrong that you can't fly. It feels very unnatural.
So I can't see in the dark. He can't fly, or she can't
I
fly,
can't.
and
I can't see in the dark either.
Are you
Well,
supposed to have
I'm
dark
talking about,
vision? Is
Yeah,
red,
Red
is
has
red
dark
supposed?
vision.
Oh, red still does. Then that's my mistake. I
Oh,
thought
okay.
Raazu and Birdie were the ones that do. No, you still have 60 feet of dark vision.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see just fine. You still don't have your markings, and you can't use your message though.
Okay.
so
Well, strike out in a random direction and hope we run into something. I don't have a better idea here.
That, unfortunately, might be our best option at this point. Because until whatever Fae spirits decide that we're boring and decide to let us go, we're kind of at their mercy.
And when you put it that way, the last thing any of you can recall before finding yourselves at the cottage was being visited by the White Mother at your camp late one night.
yeah,
Wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
somebody grabbed her arm like a stupid person.
You have to just work through these things.
Raazu
No,
starts
I gotta-
glaring at Wendy.
I've got to agree with Birdie on this one. I've dealt with the Fae a few times before. This is apparently funny.
I
Listen,
can see how it's funny.
listen. Like, this might be hilarious and everything, but I don't think we would be in this nearly bad a situation if somebody hadn't grabbed the ancient Fae queen lady thing's arm.
They would have gotten what they want
Yeah,
either way,
it's
only it
fair.
would have been a lot less pleasant if we hadn't just gone along with it. Because that would have been funnier.
So what direction do you guys decide on striking out in?
That way.
That's
Towards Birdie.
That's an impossible to answer question given that there's no sun.
Yeah.
Is there any moss on any of the trees? Like on
Sure.
the consistent side?
Yeah, you find moss on one side of the trees.
Let's go in that direction.
Let's go.
Okay.
Mossward.
Mossward ho.
Towards moss.
Mossward ho.
So
Towards moss.
I have good news
We
and
have
bad
toward
news.
moss, counter moss. Yeah.
The good news is you do find something.
Uno moss.
The bad news is we're going to discover what that is after our break.
Oh no.
So let's take 15 minutes, get your coffee, get your bagel. We'll come back at 4:20, and we will resume Weird Feywild Adventure.